Welcome to the 13th edition of Drive-Thru Review. This is going to be a two-part series. This first part is about Carcassonne, Inns and Cathedrals, and the next part will be about Traders and Builders. Both of them are expansions. For Carcassonne, I believe they were the first two expansions. Probably, in my opinion, the only expansions that you ever need for Carcassonne, and I think you do need them if you're going to play Carcassonne more than twice. They make the game somewhat bearable for gamers and somewhat bearable for people that have played the game 100 times, which I think a lot of people have. So let me just get right into how they work pretty simply, and then tell you a little bit more about it. All right, so I'm not going to discuss the basic rules of Carcassonne. There's plenty of videos and whatever about that right now, and it's pretty simple. The expansions, both expansions I'm going to talk about in these two videos, are also very simple, but I think they add enough to the game that it kind of gives it that extra spice. And probably, in all honesty, could have been included with the basic game. At least this first expansion definitely could have. All right, well, the first thing you're going to get is everybody's going to get a larger meeple here. So you can see you've got your normal meeple that came with the base game, and then everybody gets a larger one. And what that means is when you go and try to steal a city, so let's say yellow had started that city there, and then black was going to come in and place this tile here, and they were going to place their larger meeple there, so that when you end up closing off the city and resolving it, if these were the only two meeples in the city, black would win because he counts as two, as if he'd had two black workers there, and yellow would only have one. So that's the first thing you get. The second thing you get is you get these handy little scoring tiles that can be flipped over. So when you go around the scoring track, you can, instead of laying your meeple on your side or turning it on its right side or whatever to count how many times you've gone around, you can just put these right in front of you, and it makes it pretty simple to keep track of your score. Now the meat of the game are the inns, which are depicted here on the side of a road, and the cathedrals, which are cities on all four edges. And you can see they have these really large cathedrals. And a lot of the tiles have this little meeple symbol at the bottom that you can tell it's from the inns and cathedrals. Okay, well, let's start with the inns. How does an inn work? Well, if I put this here, let's say I had this guy here, and I was trying to complete that road. I'm going to put this in here. Now, instead of 1 point per tile for the road, I'm going to get 2 points per tile because the inn is there. And you can see, so if I had done it this way, which is not legal, but if the inn were not on that side of the junction, you can see it's only on this side of the junction, you don't get the points. So it only works for that side of the junction there. Now, the caveat, so to speak, with the inn is that if you're on a road at the end of the game, depending on which version of the rules you're going to play, I'll get into that later, but most people and most versions of the rules play that if you have an inn here and you haven't finished the road, then instead of getting 1 point per tile at the end of the game, you get 0 points. So, it doesn't usually happen, and it's not that huge of a deal. Somebody could come along and stick an inn on your road and hose you out of points at the end of the game. It does not happen very often. So that brings us to the cathedrals. Now, the cathedrals are very similar to the inn in that if you place a cathedral there on this city, let me move these down a little bit. So if I put that there, then each city tile is worth 3 points instead of 2. And it has the same caveat that if the city is not finished by the end of the game, then instead of being 1 point per tile at the end of the game, it's worth 0 points. So it's a little bit of a gamble. And there's a little bit more screwage in the game where if it's somewhat late in the game and your buddy's working on the city, you can come and just plop that right on there in the hopes that, it's in a bad situation that he can't finish it. And he'll get 0 points. All right, so that was pretty simple. I did mention a rules caveat in regards to the inns on the road. I've seen where people score, you only get 1 point for the whole road at the end of the game. I don't know which edition that comes from. It might come from one of the big box editions. I've just got the base game and then the two expansions separately. So whatever, I think that's a stupid rule. Anyway, so that's the first expansion, and adds a little bit more to the game. A lot more tiles, and I think really with this expansion and the next expansion, it makes the game more fun with more players. One thing I forgot to mention is this actually adds a new gray color, so you can play up to 6 people instead of just 5. So that's nice too. And you get, just that lot more tiles makes it a little more interesting with more players. I've always kind of felt that the base game is really just fun with 2. It's just sort of random with more than that. And it's still random, but anyway, I'll be posting my other video, I'm sure, around the same time as this one. So, thanks.